Hey, what's up YouTube? So this morning we're going to be doing some window screens for some basement windows down here. There's a lot of videos out there that show you how to make really nice craftsman, authentic, old wooden screens. This is not going to be that. This is going to be a simple how-to on how to make simple screens quickly. Begin by measuring the window jamb you want to fit the screen into. Make sure to double check the measurement across the window in both directions, as they are sometimes not square. Record the average or smallest measurement on a quick sketch of the dimensions. At a lumber yard or Lowe's or Home Depot, buy enough 1x2 furring strips and decorative trim to frame the windows you need screens for. For these two basement windows, I purchased 3 8-foot pieces of 1x2 and 3 8-foot pieces of decorative trim. I ordered the screen material from Amazon because they sell it in smaller chunks than buying a 24-foot roll at Lowe's. The link is below in the description. The tools you'll need are pretty basic: a saw, a drill, a staple gun, a speedy square, measuring tape, and exterior primer and paint and a paintbrush. You can use a handsaw if you don't have a miter saw, but this project, and basically any other project involving wood, is a lot easier with a miter saw. Next, measure out the lengths of the frames. I ended up making mine a little too snug and had to shave some off using a table saw. So err on the side of slightly smaller, maybe a 1/4 inch less than your measurement. If you have a miter saw, you can do miter joints and measure the full length. Sand off the cut ends with a bit of sandpaper. Alright, so we got our first frame cut for the north window. I just got these little brackets from Lowe's. They're just little corner brackets, corner braces. They sell them in different finishes. Like I said earlier, there's definitely better ways to do this with pocket drilling screws in, or doing some other way to join these together, but this is going to be really quick and easy, and I just need to get these screens in soon. Use the speedy square to help you keep the corners square as you screw the flat braces onto the corners. Got these little brackets put on the corners. It's all squared up. I did notice on the back side you could put another set of brackets. I didn't buy any, so I'm just going to use a little bit of wood glue and some clamps and just wood glue these corners, these miter corners, shut and clamp them up. The wood glue nozzle was clogged, as always, so I used a little paintbrush to apply the glue. I started out trying to use the ratcheting bar clamps from Harbor Freight, but they were not holding, so I ended up switching to C-clamps, also from Harbor Freight, and they held wonderfully. Alright, so we got our frames drying over there. The next thing I'm going to do while they're drying is cut this trim piece to fit about 1/2 inch inside those frames on each side. And you could use any trim material. You don't have to use this kind. Any trim material that looks good and it's not going to stick out too far. This is just, you know, pretty cheap. I think these were about $2 or $3 a piece. I needed 2 of them to do the 2 screens that I'm doing. And this is what's going to hold down the screen material after I staple it on. And I'll show you that in just a little bit. Subtract about 1 inch from your screen frame measurement for the trim pieces and cut them the same way. At this point, make sure your screen frame fits. If it is too tight, you're going to need to shave some off. Next, use some exterior primer and exterior paint to coat the wood. This cheap pine will disintegrate in the elements without a protective coating. Once it is dry, it is time to add the screen material. Lay it out so it covers the screen frame and use a staple gun to attach it. The tricky part is getting it tight. I started on one of the small sides, then pulling it tight, worked my way down one of the long sides. Then work your way down the other long side, and finally the other short side, keeping it tight as you can with your other hand. I ended up hammering most of the staples in because they were sticking out a bit. Use a box cutter or an X-Acto knife, I couldn't find my box cutter at the moment, to trim off the excess screen material. Use the decorative trim pieces to lay over the staples and tack it on. Again, if you had a brad nailer or a finishing nail gun, you could use that, but I wanted to show that you can do this without many fancy tools. I ended up using 5/8 inch long picture hanging nails I have laying around. A window screen. So you can see just these little tack nails. Again, it'd be better if you had a brad nailer or a finishing nailer, but if you don't and you just have a hammer, you can use simple tools and make a nice simple screen. Super cheap. Total cost of these, I'll add it up and put it on the video, but it was very inexpensive to make these and not a lot of time. And if you want to make really nice screens, that's great, but if you have other plans for the weekend or you want to just get these done, this is a great way to do it on the cheap. And now for the final install. We're going to use some exterior coated screws with these little pieces of paint stick that I painted to make the latches. So every time you want to take it out, you'd have to just unscrew, loosen the screws up a little bit, turn the latch, and then you can pop the screen in and out. So first we're going to make sure it fits. Screw the paint stick latches onto the frame. I left them just loose enough so they would turn without a screwdriver. 2 on each side of these ones is plenty. So there you go. There's your easy DIY screen. Perfect for basement windows, places you're not too concerned about how they look. This is more for functionality than anything, but I actually think it looks pretty good too. Thank you for watching, and please give it a like and consider subscribing if you found this video helpful.